Good day, podcast community coach Pete Kane here with author and podcaster. Engineering freedom with greater service. Not much is better than serving. An impact goes along with it. And I want to share with you my story and why making the biggest impact in the world makes a difference, and how you can grasp it too, which is changing your mindset. Let me give you a little frame of reference so you know where I'm coming from. First, it can happen anytime. One day, you're walking fine, everything's fine. Next day, half of your body's not working. Massive stroke took out half of my body. Now, the good news is I lived. And I had a chance 49 days to think about the future, to reflect, to say, what do I want this next chapter to be like? What did I learn through those 49 days? What I took away was this: someday became today. Someday became today. Because if you always think, someday I'll write that book, someday I'll travel, someday I'll go after that job I've always dreamed of, someday I'll do this workshop, someday I'll make that phone call to a friend, instead of today, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. Life is precious, and the impact that we make determines by the decisions we make. If we think someday, we'll be good at putting things off. If we think today, you tend to have a sense of urgency. And there's nothing wrong with that, because strategically, it's better for us, because we fill our commitment to ourselves. We get things done. We prioritize better. And when we do that, we work on engineering freedom. Let's talk the first one. Okay. Mortality motivation. It comes when you stare death in the face or in the mirror, and you survive. Because when you do, you have a different mindset. And like we just shared, someday becomes today. Life is precious. And I live every single day like it could be my last. One of these days I'm going to be right. But until then, I'm going to live with the most impact, the most service, the most love, the most joy that I can live today. And when you do that, it changes the way you approach things. The noise, the distractions become minor. The big rocks, the big priorities, the needle-moving activities become more of what you do. So you realize that if I'm going to do it, today is better than someday. So when you start thinking that way, it's like a muscle. It starts getting stronger. And when you're sitting in a hospital bed, one, glad you're alive. It changes you. It changes the way you interact. It changes the way you communicate. It changes the way you appreciate life. Life is precious. And when you realize that today is Tuesday, we only have a certain amount of Tuesdays, a certain amount of Thanksgivings, a certain amount of Christmases, birthdays, Sundays, Mondays. You don't have an unlimited amount. So when you realize that, really you come to the conclusion that life is precious. So instead of getting distracted, You stay focused. You have more clarity in your life. You have more energy, more courage. You're more productive, and your influence grows. And I want you to think of this. If you just change the way you think, let's just say you're like most. They have a local reputation. They're known in their local area. They have credibility. They've earned it. And they have what we call 140 people that know, like, and trust you. That's the general number. But here's the opportunity for you. When you move from a local sandbox to a global sandbox, here's what I want you to think about. 140 people versus 5,000 to over 1 billion. Now, why is that numbers so dramatic? Because the world is bigger. And when you can get out of your local zip code and get into a global authority, build your business online, whether being a guest on a podcast, whether hosting a podcast, whether writing a book, whatever it is, you're putting yourself out there so people can know, like, and trust you. And when you do that, everything shifts. The demand gets greater. You get more known worldwide than just your local zip code. And when you can increase your demand from 5,000 to over 1 billion versus 140, those numbers speak, because supply and demand will always be. Know, like, and trust will always be. What is now the opportunity is to discover that the online presence that people can know, like, and trust you are now within your reach. Does it take a strategy? Does it take focus? Does it take clarity? Does it take somebody that can help you do that? Yes. But when you do that, you don't have to worry about all the fancy things that people had to keep track of, funnels and marketing and all this. Just put yourself out there. And there are strategies, but I'm just giving you general ideas of how you can grow your global authority. Let me give you an example. Steve Jobs passed away several years back. And you might have thought a family member passed, because the millions of people who mourned his death was a testimony to the impact that he had on people around the world. And that's the impact you can have when you shift from local to global. When you shift, because the mind does not know the difference. When I meet you, I can look you up. And if you give me an opportunity to go on a journey with you to get to know, like, and trust, and the numbers are this: 7 hours, 11 buying signals, and 4 platforms. When that happens, the brain just clicks to know, like, and trust. And that is the opportunity that we all have, creating assets versus activities. You are going to have coffee with a person. Instead, do a podcast with them. Still can get to know them, but you create an asset. And when you create an asset, it never goes away. Let me repeat that. Never goes away. An activity starts and ends, and it's a memory now. But when you have that global mindset where you are putting yourself out there and you do it today versus someday, everything switches. Now, second, I want you to think of freedoms, because when you are intentional about these 6 freedoms, the world is your oyster. First and most important, time. We only have a certain amount of it. And when you can figure out how to get the most out of your 24 hours, of your time, everything opens up because you start doing the priority. You start focusing better. You start having more energy. You start having more courage. You start becoming more impactful. And when that happens, it opens up the second one, and that is health. Because health is energy. And when you are prioritizing better, you're getting more out of your health. And when you do that, you're getting free to have that energy that's possible. When you have that energy, you have freedom. When you have that health, you have freedom. The one thing about health, when you lose it, you have one goal: get it back. So protect and take care of your health. And when you prioritize time-wise your health, you take care of your most precious asset, your body. Self-care is so critical. The third is wealth. And I want you to think of this. I want you to think of wealth freedom. And what does that mean? If your overhead is $5,000 and you have $6,000 coming in, you're free. You're free to think and do what you want. And that's freedom. So you don't have to be a millionaire, a zillionaire, a trillionaire, a billionaire. You just have to have enough coming in, reoccurring, so you can be free. Free to unleash the next freedom, creative. Because when you can be free to pursue your creative, your superpower, and you can lean into being creative on a regular basis, that muscle keeps getting stronger and stronger because we all have it. Sometimes we bury it and we don't know where it is because the muck, the weeds are on top of it. But you get that muscle working and you start seeing what potential you have in your creative area, your superpower. And when you do that, you can work from anywhere. Costa Rica, you can work from Bolivia, you can work from France, Barcelona, wherever you have an online business. As long as you have an internet, you can work from anywhere. And that's the freedom that's possible to engineer that. And when you engineer that location freedom, you can travel wherever you want. Travel wherever you want. And when you have those 6 freedoms, 5, 6, time, health, wealth, creative, location, and travel, you have engineered the framework to be free. And last is the community multiplier. Scaling local impact to global influence requires community. Together we're better. In a community of people, of like-minded people. We do this in the score. Whoops, right there. You can scan it and join our community because inside our community is people that think like you do, that want to make that impact, that want to have those freedoms, that want to work together, want to be around people, and are all working towards a common goal. And that community multiplies your impact because together we're better. In community, you're better. And that's why we have the school community for you. So here's what I would want you to do. Invest in yourself. Our community at this point is $47 a month. That's our Founders Club. Then it's going to go up. So we have a few slots left to join our community. Scan the QR code right there on it says community. This one, or Hold on here. I always like this. I got to do this. There we go. Okay. Hold on. No, no. I can't do it. The book one is on the right and the community is on the left. So if you want to get our book, Local to Global Impact, this is my book, Local to Global Impact. Proceeds from this book goes to the Rotary Foundation, back into the community to make the community stronger, better, have the biggest impact. Because ultimately, I want to take this to the highest level of Rotary International.